All right, let's get into it. We're going to tackle a question that every single company has to face. How do you actually organize a group of people to get stuff done? I mean, this puzzle has been kicking around for more than 100 years. And how we've tried to answer it, well, it shows this massive shift in how we think about work itself. So let's frame this whole conversation around this one big question. Think about it. Is a manager's job more like being an engineer, building a perfect, efficient system of gears and levers? Or is it more like being a psychologist, trying to understand this incredibly complex web of human motivation and behavior? As we're about to see, the answer to that has completely flipped over the last century. This tension between the machine and the mind, it was perfectly captured by the management legend Peter Drucker. He drew this super important line between efficiency and effectiveness. See, efficiency is all about doing things right, being fast, cutting down waste, but effectiveness, that's about doing the right things in the first place. You can be the most efficient person in the world at a task that just doesn't matter, which of course makes you completely ineffective. And that balancing act, that is the fundamental challenge of management. Okay, so in the beginning, the answer seemed pretty obvious. Management was all about efficiency. The early thinkers looked at these noisy, kind of chaotic factories during the Industrial Revolution, and they saw one thing, a machine that just needed a really good tune-up. This whole era was dominated by one guy, Frederick W. Taylor, and his big idea, scientific management. This was the engineer's approach, but like on steroids. The core idea was that you could apply the scientific method to human labor, just like you would to any other part of a factory. The organization wasn't seen as a community of people. Nope, it was just a system of interconnected tasks. Taylor's whole goal was to get rid of guesswork. He couldn't stand the old rule of thumb ways of doing things. He believed that through these incredibly meticulous time and motion studies, you could scientifically prove the single one best way to do any job, whether that was shoveling coal or putting together an engine. So did it actually work? Oh, yeah. This number right here says it all. At a place called Bethlehem Steel, Taylor's team scientifically redesigned the simple job of loading pig iron. They changed the tools, the movements, everything. And the result? A worker's daily output just skyrocketed from 12 tons to a totally staggering 47 tons. This wasn't just a little improvement, it was a productivity revolution. And while Taylor was busy optimizing the individual task, a French engineer named Henri Fayol was looking at the bigger picture, optimizing the structure of the organization itself. He was focused on creating this clean, logical blueprint for the entire machine, with principles that, honestly, we still recognize today, like having a clear chain of command and making sure every employee has only one boss. But this whole machine-like view of work, it was missing something huge. It turns out the most important parts of the machine weren't parts at all. They were people. This huge shift really started with a series of now famous experiments at the Hawthorne Works factory, led by a researcher named Elton Mayo. Now, they went in with that classic scientific management mindset. They just wanted to see how changing different variables would affect productivity. So they tweaked the lighting, made it brighter, then made it dimmer. They messed with the rest breaks, changed the working hours, even adjusted how people got paid. They were basically treating people like components to be optimized. And this is where things got really weird. Because no matter what they did, better lighting, worse lighting, more breaks, fewer breaks, productivity just kept on climbing. The results made absolutely no sense from an engineering point of view. So what on earth was going on? And the discovery they made changed management forever. It wasn't the physical changes that mattered at all. It was the psychological ones. Productivity went up simply because the workers felt seen. They felt valued. For the first time, somebody was actually paying attention to them. They weren't just cogs in a machine. They were people. And their feelings, their social connections, well, those turned out to be incredibly powerful motivators. So this massive realization that workers are people, not parts, led to a whole new set of tools and frameworks for trying to understand what a manager actually does all day. Right, so the classical view from Fayol gave us this really neat list of functions. You plan, you organize, you command, you control. It sounds so orderly, right? But then, decades later, a researcher named Henry Mintzberg decided to just follow managers around all day to see what they really did. And what he found was that their reality was anything but neat. It was messy. They were constantly switching hats, acting as figureheads one minute, handling a sudden crisis the next, then jumping into a negotiation. Mintzberg basically showed us the chaotic reality behind that clean, simple theory. And this breakdown from Robert Katz is fantastic because it shows how the job fundamentally changes as you climb the corporate ladder. Down on the front lines, technical skills are king. You have to know how the work gets done. But as you rise up to top management, the most critical skill becomes conceptual, the ability to see the whole big picture and set a vision for the future. And notice the one constant right in the middle? Yep. Strong human skills are totally non-negotiable at every single level. So, we've gone on this journey from thinking of a company as a perfect machine to seeing it as a complex human community. The final step in this evolution is just accepting that we have to manage inside a world that is rarely perfect, almost never rational, and definitely not predictable. I mean, in theory, making a decision should be simple, right? You just follow this so-called rational model. Define the problem, generate every single possible solution, evaluate all of them perfectly, and then just pick the optimal one. It sounds great on a slide, but let's be honest, when have you ever had all the time or all the information to actually do that in real life? And this is where Nobel Prize winner Herbert Simon comes in. He argued that in the real world, our rationality is bounded. It's limited by our own minds, by the information we have, and by the little time we have to make a call. Because of this, we almost never optimize. Instead, we do something he called satisfice. It's a mix of satisfy and suffice. We don't find the single sharpest needle in the haystack. We find one that's sharp enough to sew with, and then we get on with the job. And that brings us right back to the start. From the perfect machine of Taylor to the human community discovered by Mayo to the good enough reality of Simon, our understanding of management has just evolved so profoundly. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about your own workplace. Is it managed like a machine, a community, or is it something else entirely? Because understanding what it is, that's always the first step to making it better.